motherfucker.
Predator has and always will be one of my favourite films of all time. Growing up as a kid, I watched all of the Arnie, Stallone and Willis films, but out of every single one of them, this one topped the lot. This is Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime. It is his best film ever to this day, and he's made a lot of them, but in 1987, Predator introduced perhaps one of the most iconic extraterrestrial beings that we have ever seen. As an alien, creature, warrior, all of the above, the Predator comes equipped with an arsenal of futuristic tech combined with deadly weaponry, which makes it near impossible to stop once it begins the hunt. And that is what Dutch and his Special Forces team are up against when they came face to face with this unknown foe. After being dropped into the jungle, Dutch and his team's priority was to find this supposed cabinet minister, rescue him and anybody else who might still be alive, and extract them out of harm's way. The general was certain that hostages were in guerrilla hands, and that was why they needed the best. Only something didn't quite add up, and after obliterating the guerrilla camp, showing us why they are called the best, Dutch realised that they were sent under false pretences. It was a setup, one which Dylan had a hand in making to ensure that the team came along. He knew that if he told Dutch the real story, that him and his team would reject the mission, but that deception became the least of their worries, as Dutch, Dylan and the rest of the others found themselves being hunted and picked off one by one by the Predator. Now, Dutch's testosterone and muscle-filled team consisted of 6 members. Dylan was along for the ride, something which I bet he regrets, and out of all of them the question was who would be the first to fall. That honour would go to Hawkins, as he was ambushed when chasing down Anna. Earlier on we saw the aftermath of the scene of bodies which were skinned, strung up and their entrails left on the ground, but this time we saw it first hand. And after Hawkins, Blaine came shortly afterwards. Shame really, since he was such a fucking badass, but even he couldn't withstand the full force of the Predator's plasma caster after taking not one, but 2 shots, with one to the neck and the other to the chest. Mac fell much later on after being hell-bent on avenging his friend. He was in fact the first member of the team to even lay eyes on the Predator properly, but was caught out with nowhere to run. He thought he was the one who had the advantage. Him and Dylan were going to flush out the Predator and settle their scores, but after crawling into a very tight space, you knew exactly what was coming next after those 3 dots were on their marker. By this time, the team numbers were getting a little stretched, and barely a moment after Mac's demise, Dylan realised that his time too was about to be up. Carl Weathers is terrific, and aside from his muscle-bursting introduction, this scene was undeniably his best. He faced his fear knowing what the outcome would be. He didn't run, he stood firm against an enemy he could not defeat and went out like an absolute boss. Dylan's screams echoed throughout the jungle, which led to Billy staying behind to also face his fears. Him and Poncho were knocked off in quick succession. Anna ran off to the extraction zone, which meant for the final quarter of the film it was Dutch 1v1 with the Predator. Now Dutch at last had a slice of luck on his side. He was hightailing it from the Predator, which was right on his tail, and as he was crawling ashore, he found a flaw in the Predator's technology. Aside from the water disabling its cloaking, the mud masked his heartbeat and heat signature, which meant he couldn't be tracked, not by the Predator's standard means. It allowed him some time to breathe, set up his traps in an area, make more weapons, and then it was showtime. Dutch held his own against the Predator for a significantly long time. It was hella impressive, whether swinging from tree to tree, hiding in his camouflage, shooting pinpoint accurate arrows, or trialling himself for the long throw with that explosive spear. He looked like he just might do it. Then, water. His guise was washed off and it looked to be all over. But no, we learnt earlier on that the Predator hunted for sport, and that's why it didn't attack Anna when she was unarmed. So when looking into the eyes of Dutch, to it, he was a worthy prize, and someone to meet on an even-ish playing field. The Predator unmasked, much to Dutch's dismay, and then It was the end game. He got mauled. I mean, a punch from someone of Dutch's size is likely to floor any man on Earth, but it only dazed the Predator for what? A matter of seconds? And then the beating just continued. And as the wrist blades came out with Dutch bloody and battered on the floor, one of his well-placed traps allowed him to gain the upper hand and finally take down his foe. There, maybe he should have finished the job, because looking down at his fallen foe could have been a fatal mistake. The Predator's final laugh and that ominous countdown indicated that that wrist computer was counting down to something. Wisely, Dutch noped the hell out of there, just in the nick of time. So, word of advice for next time, Dutch, if you ever do cross paths with a Predator again, if you get the chance to finish one off, don't let it play with its tech, because even seconds before death, a Predator can devastate everything in the surrounding area.
When the big man was killed, you must have wanted it. Its blood was on the leaves.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
So now to the overall verdict. Predator is one of my favourite films ever. It personifies what a sci-fi action film should be, and it has its moments of pure suspense, horror and thrills mixed in as well. Even Arnie's one-liners don't feel forced or out of place, and they give you a few laughs. And that is why I am giving Predator a full 10 out of 10. For me, it is a quintessential sci-fi action movie that still to this very day is one of the best. It is a classic in its own right, and with this film birthed an origin story to one of the most iconic alien species cinema has ever seen. We don't even get a proper look at it until just past the 50-minute mark, but once we do, we see its sophisticated weaponry, adaptive cloaking system, its trophy haul, we watch its intriguing code of honour, and we see it bring hell on Earth. Now, one of the film's brightest stars is its sound design. It is an absolute masterstroke. You can tell even before the first time they hit the ground in the jungle that it was going to play a huge part. And all the way through, the soundtracks and scores are perfectly suited to the dense forestry. You know which one I'm referring to. But really, there are so many standouts to pick from. And that's just relating to the film and atmosphere in general. We haven't even gotten to the Predator's sounds yet. Watching through its eyes, seeing its heat detective vision, listening to that heartbeat, and of course the sound of the plasma caster, just every single sound and small detail that the Predator has been created impeccably. And all in all, it plays a key part in making this foe so memorable over the years. Cast-wise, I can't think of a single weak character. Everybody played their role well. Arnie is a natural leader. Carl Weathers steals many of his scenes, and other members of the team like Blaine and Mac are just complete badasses. I mean, I suppose in some sense Poncho and Hawkins are the less memorable pair, but there was nothing wrong with them. They were just not as standout as the rest of the team. Now, the final quarter of the film, when it's down to Dutch versus the Predator, is my favourite section. We see why Dutch commands such respect in the field, even against an unknown alien species, with weaponry far outweighing that of his own. But he's still able to mount a fight. Arnie's size and strength help him in this regard. Hell, even tanked a plasma caster shot to the upper shoulder. But again, I feel him in this role is his best ever. Terminator 2 is right up there, of course, but personally, this for me is his number one. The film even has a moment of reflection where Anna tells us a story that she heard as a child, saying that only in the hottest seasons this happens, hinting that this isn't the first time a Predator has came to Earth, and with this film's success, it certainly won't be the last. It is everything you could ask for in an action film. I cannot sing its praises enough. And just to think this film could have so easily been a flop. I mean, go and take a look at the footage with Jean-Claude Van Damme in the original design of the Predator costume. Hell, I think it's fair to say I'm not the only one thankful that that version didn't ever come to pass. The studio at the time saw how good the rest of the footage was and decided to stump up some extra cash to give us a superior design. Whew, glad you made that choice. Predator is a timeless classic. It introduced an iconic new at the time alien species into the sci-fi genre, and proven by its mainstay and popularity over the years, its legend will likely stick around for quite some time. Next up, I'll be reviewing Predator 2 and then Predators, so we'll see if either of those two films capture the same intensity and action that this film did. It's always difficult following in the footsteps of such a quality first installment, so we shall see. So what do you all think of Predator? Do you rate it as highly as I do? Do you feel it's Arnie's best film ever made? And out of every bit of tech the Predator has, whether it's the cloaking, plasma caster, or some of its other gadgets that we don't actually see in this film, which one is your favourite? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed the review. And I'll see you on the next one.
Run! Go! Get to the chopper!